Hello and welcome back to the Pinnacle Esports channel. Today we are coming to the RMR B. So we did the RMR A with Brandon and Lucy, and now we're going to be doing the same format and looking at our 3-0 teams, 0-3 teams, highest rated players, dark horses. So to kick it off, I think Brandon may have started on the last one. So Lucy.
No, Lucy
did.
did. Lucy
Okay,
did.
Brandon, who are your 3-0s for this?
So it's not spicy this time. I've gone with G2, and I've gone with Cloud9. I just think that they're performing exceptional right now. I feel like, look, the competition. I want to start this off saying, look, the competition in EU Group B, I think, is a lot tougher than Group A. I feel like that there's a lot of teams here that can really beat everyone. But for me, I think it's pretty clear cut. I've gone for G2 and I've gone for C9.
Yeah, I think it is very top heavy and bottom heavy in a way. Like I feel like you've got it's not so clear who the top two are here like it was in group A. I think G2 I agree with you on. They're not going to, of course. They're going to stumble somehow, just like it did in EPL playoffs. And you know they probably will lose a matchup here, especially because, you know, they're going to have to battle some pretty tough teams. I mean, you've got Heroic, Cloud9, Vitality, and ENCE all here looking for those 3-0 spots. But yeah, I still think G2 should be the favorites. My follow-up is ENCE. I think they're surprising everyone, right? At EPL, a fantastic run. NertZ has just been such a massive move for them. Like what we saw at EPL, particularly in that game against Vitality, this guy's the real deal. Really exciting player. DH also has been stepping up and being incredibly consistent. They're actually the highest rated player this year. So I think coming in off a high of EPL, they're going to be feeling good. And I think they have a good chance of going 3-0.
If I feel like to add on to that point, because I feel like that's a really good counter argument. I feel like NertZ, I agree, incredible player, was one of those endpoint kind of exports where endpoint have developed these players and then have moved them on to tier 1 and they've been flourishing in. I think DH, as you were mentioning, I actually think he's the best player on that roster because I feel that he's the most consistent. And I feel like that roster would be nowhere near achieving the same results if DH wasn't on it. So I just wanted to show my flowers and appreciation to DH. With that being said, I agree with what you're saying to a certain extent, but I'm concerned that in like a best of one, like potentially things could go a little bit south. I feel like ENCE tends to be a little bit rockier in best of ones rather than best of threes. So I feel like there could be some tripwires, especially thrown in with EU RMR Group B. So I think for that reason, that's why I didn't go for them. But I think they're a very good shout. I think a notable mention as well, Heroic could be thrown in there. I think that's what's scary about EU Group B. There's so many teams that could be 3-0.
Thing with ENCE as well, isn't it crazy how much it's shown that they needed someone like NertZ over a player like Valde?
Well, that's what they thought Valde was going to be.
Yeah, the immediate impact that has come in. I mean, this team could be devastating now if you look at Sumpires, DH, and NertZ as a core 3 to perform. That is scary going forward once they've had a bit more experience. And I mean, they've already shown that they can beat some of these top teams. So yeah, ENCE are a scary team to be looking at here.
I remember when Sumpires and Valde first came into the team, and Richard Lewis did an interview with Snappy, and Snappy was saying it's going to be a little bit difficult for us because obviously ENCE were known quite a lot for calling out Spawn out the gate because you had all these individuals that wouldn't really talk in the mid round. So Snappy had to kind of mitigate that by calling certain strats out of Spawn, and for when Sumpires and Valde came in, he was saying this is actually really different because we've now got a new culture shock. Sumpires was very vocal in Movistar. He'd call around his AWP plays, and like he'd be like the secondary loud voice in the team, especially in the middling portions of the round. And Valde has also got his inputs. He's got a style of how he feels like the game should be played, especially at tier 1 level. So with Valde actually moving out, with NertZ coming in, I feel like NertZ is going to be less of a vocal player to that team, and that kind of adds maybe a little bit more cohesion, maybe a little bit more of, well, there's not so many people just having input. And whilst input is amazing, at the same time, in that moment, you all need to be on the same page. It doesn't matter what Snappy calls, as long as you're all doing it together, that could probably lead to a better result than if you're a little bit disjointed, the trade spacing isn't there. And we saw, you're right, the implications from Valde coming out, NertZ coming in, and the immediate impact it had. So maybe just internally as well, it makes it a little bit more harmonious.
Yeah, and I think a player we didn't mention there when talking about ENCE is Madden, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's kind of that player that kind of reminds me of Jackson in a way, where like he's just going to get in there and do the dirty work for you. And that's so important when you've got stars like NertZ and Sampayas that need that kind of that space being taken. And sometimes for Madden, that means he takes over an entire match. I've seen it quite a few times, particularly on Ancient. It feels like that's a map he really excels at. Where he can actually have a huge amount of impact, but doesn't kind of have the same accolades as me when we're talking about like your NertZ and your Dihas, but still another X factor in that team.
Just hope.
Whilst we are singing praises for him, and obviously we've got kind of, I don't know if we've got to make a decision on the 3-0s, but to kind of back up my C9 point, you've got best players in the world in Shiro, Axile. I feel like the Buster change has actually just really done wonders for them. I feel like they're reinvented a little bit, even though they're playing a similar brand of Counter-Strike. And for me, if they sort out their T-side flashbangs, they'll be a very good team because they were one of the lowest utility usage teams in EPL on that T-side.
If we have to agree on 2 teams, I'm happy to concede ENCE and to bring in Cloud9. I think you're absolutely right. I mean, they made it to the grand finals of EPL. They always seem to perform, and they've got 2 of the best players in the world on the roster. And that's before you even start talking about Hobbit, who's also there. And even though he was a little quiet at the start of the year, he's starting to have some big pop-off games too. So yeah, I'm happy to go with Cloud9. I just kind of am excited about ENCE after what we saw, which is why I want them to go 3-0.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like we've done a really good job at kind of hyping them up. But I feel like when you look at 3-0 teams, I'm happy that we're in agreement that it's C9 and I don't look like a spicy take for once.
One thing I will say about NertZ is I really hope that he doesn't get picked up by one of these bigger teams later down the line. I mean, I think Spinks was incredible on ENCE, and then when he moved to Vitality, it took a while for him to actually pick back up. And I do worry for if that happens to NertZ. Like, will we see it? I want them to stay with this team. I want them to, keep together and become one of the best. So, yeah, I do worry about ENCE, and I mean, it's very early days, so
yeah, very
to worry about down the line. But yeah, so I think in terms of this event, G2, Cloud9, we're happy to agree on them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so our 03 teams, I have seen your picks here. There is some disagreement. So let's go with Lucy for this.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not completely wedded to these. I think I'm interested to see what Brandon says, because I'm sure it can be swayed. But I do think there's a few clear teams that come in with the odds against them. And for me, 2 of those are 500 and iNation. I think you can easily throw Aurora into this mix as well, but I went with these 2 just because of the way that the matchups work. iNation, less than 6 months together as a roster. There's some nice pieces there. I was actually really impressed with Depression as an AWPer when we got to see him during Fnatic Rising. I feel like he hasn't been as consistent with this team, I will say. They've had some nice wins against teams like Sprout, Into the Breach, and even 500. So, they might come out ahead there. But it's not enough to inspire confidence to me at the caliber of this RMR. And for me, it's the same story with 500 as well. Similar length of time this roster's been around. Again, a few wins here and there against some of these strong teams, but not consistent enough to inspire confidence to me. And they also open up against Heroic, where they're going to get decimated.
Yeah, it's going to be a hard opening matchup for 500 for sure. I just feel like they're the heart and soul of Bulgaria, and the pieces that they've got were really strong and are still incredibly strong. But you look at where they came from, that SCADA roster all the way back in like 2021, middle in portion of 2021, start of 2022. They were the gatekeeper team. You go up against these guys in tier 2. If you beat them, you earn your praises. It's like, okay, wow, you guys are legit in tier 2. But they were hard gatekeepers. They ran it really close as well. I need to actually just check my facts quickly to make sure I'm talking about the right team. No, I'm not. But Voivoda, another team from Bulgaria. I just want to talk about upset potentials because the qualifications for Blast Premier were really tight, and Cloud9 made it, but it was 2-0 against Voivoda. Both matches were 16-14, and they're not the best team in Bulgaria, 500 are. So that's my counter argument. I feel like they will get a win at some point in the RMR bracket. I feel like 500, especially with the pieces that they have, have got really strong potential to sneak one in. I feel like Rainwaker is one of the best players in tier 2 at the moment. I feel like Denislaw can really pop off with the orb, and Ships has been phenomenal form in the last couple of weeks. So for me, I think 500 will at least get one win in this. I don't think they're going to bomb out completely, especially against some of the middle in tier 2 teams that we've got towards the bottom end of the bracket in EU RMR Group B. For me, I've got Eternal Fire going 03, which is a little bit of a bold one. But where they had the most success, it was during their most busiest period. They were playing Blast qualifiers, they were playing the CCT multi-finals, they were all together as well, which I feel like really helped them and really inspired success. The amount of Counter-Strike that they were playing really would only help them develop further. Since then, they've not really been playing the same amount of games, and I take a look at their matchups, obviously do the RMR little prediction things. I've got them in the 0-2 game against Astralis, and I feel like I can't have Astralis going 0-3. I feel like Device will ensure that that doesn't happen. So that's how I landed on Eternal Fire, and obviously it hurts to say that I think Xantares might go 0-3 because he's Lantares, but that's kind of where I'm at with it, with one of those teams going 0-3.
Yeah, I think you kind of touched on the counterpoint, right? They will be all together, right? It's on LAN in Copenhagen, and Xantares is going to go nuts. You just know it. I have them going in the 0-2 match against 500, and I do think Eternal Fire win that one out. So that's how I landed there.
Yeah. If it goes your version, they will beat 500. So agree with what you're saying there. Happy to swap Eternal Fire out of mine. The other one I've got going 0-3 is probably another controversial one. I've gone with Big, and Big online seem pretty good. However, recently,
I'm not so convinced on that either.
Big on LAN have been really shaky. It's been a really upsetting time in 2022 for Big. They went through a very long string of months where they never had their 5 due to various different reasons. And for me, I cannot see them doing it. And I don't want to say that because I like Big. Every time I feel like I'm kind of slating a team, I hate doing it because I just love Counter-Strike, mate. But for me, I don't think Big can do it. I think iNation actually match up really well against them in the Veto in the opening best of 1. I feel like that either goes Anubis, and iNation look really good on Anubis, and I feel like that will surprise Big. I don't think they're going to be ready for that. So that's why I don't have iNation going 0-3, because I've actually got them beating Big in the opener.
That's pretty spicy. And honestly, I could see it happening. Big at the sort of team that do lose those matchups, and particularly in a best of 1. I you want them to do well. Like, there's some really nice pieces there. Like, Favin, I think, has been a really good addition alongside Crimbo, right? These two. I feel like Hyped, we haven't quite seen enough time with him in this roster to show that he can AWP at the top level, but I still think there's enough here. Don't get me wrong. I don't think they're going through, but I think they avoid the 0-3.
Yeah, reasonable. I think, what did you say, 500, and what was the other one?
500 and iNation.
I don't think both of those go 0-3.
Neither of us said Aurora.
No.
Well, I mean, I hinted that I think they might, but I think they're the other team that I throw into the ring. But you're confident they'll get a couple of wins.
Yeah. Again, I guess this leads on from a similar vein in Group A. I've got Aurora as my dark horse. So we can touch on that maybe in just a little bit. But in terms of if we need to,
last year, weren't they, in the qualifiers to the RMR? They were
also Los Cagutos beat Astralis in the RMR, but like they were really shaky. So debating more on 0-3, I'm happy to. I agree with what you're saying now that you've counterpointed Eternal Fire. I'm happy to let that one go. Maybe my big one's a bit too spicy as well.
You got very spicy for both of yours.
With Big, I feel like, I mean,
I'm more sold on the big one. I think Big.
Since we started recording stuff together with Brandon, we have constantly said how good we think Favin is. I think it's been a point that we have, iterated over and over and over again. Like, Favin is a great player, and it's just a shame, like you say, this team hasn't had the pieces to come together at the right time. Like, they haven't had their 5 together enough to be able to be consistent. And now that they've also just changed Citizen for Hyped, it's another change when they might have actually started to be able to keep their five together and play
I don't think I
events.
don't think that AWP change affects them negatively, by the way, at all.
No, I agree.
I think Hyped was really good.
Yeah.
I said it on broadcast in February when I was casting Big Academy. I said this year Hyped will make it into the big main roster, and then less than a month later he did. So I've got a lot of value in Hyped. I feel like he is a very good addition for Big. With that being said, they are just not gelling at the moment. Something is not right in the camp, and for me, yeah, I don't. Maybe O3 is a bit harsh, but they're definitely not going through the RMR.
I, I think Big is one of those things. I mean, there's going to be a lot of disagreement around Big on this. I don't think many people will have Big going 0-3, but they probably
Yeah.
would agree with you, especially because it's on LAN. I think if it was an online event, maybe people would be like, "Oh, Big might go through 3-2," but I think, yeah, I don't know. Eternal Fire as well, I think is definitely the right pick to try and swap them out. But Big, I don't know. It's a tough one. It's a very tough one. So are we agreeing 500? Because
No.
did you say iNation were going to beat Big in the opening match for you?
I did say that, yeah.
Okay.
But
Brandon's not going to agree on any of these.
Okay.
I'm not agreeing with 500. 500 might go free.
I think for this we might have to keep them separate and then just let the comments see your picks and
Alright,
who
that's
they
fine.
think, because I don't think we'll go through. But you said Aurora would be your dark horse.
Yeah, so I've got two for Group B. I guess we can touch on Aurora first. Aurora went on this crazy run when they formed. I think they got the sweet end of the deal for pieces when it came to the fours kind of roster move. I feel Kenzie and Norway have got a lot to prove, and they've kind of got they do have a point to prove. I think Latic is an incredible AWPer, and I really rate this team. They're ranked 33 in the world right now. I think that they've got really good potential against tier 1. The way that they play CS is incredibly solid. There's no chance they go 0-3. I'm sold on the Aurora pipeline dream. I think that they've got a really good potential to upset a lot of teams here. Before I kind of throw it over to Lucy, I might as well just mention my other one. I've got Monte as my other dark horse. And I feel like the individuals pop off a lot on this team. They're now starting to make deep runs in competitions. I think Sundai Young adds a lot of experience to this core now, and he's added a lot of depth to Monte as well. And what's exciting is Monte can actually just have this kind of mid-round in where they can go for these executes, they can go for the slowdowns, but at the same time, they can just pop onto a bomb site out of nowhere, pure contact. It doesn't matter which player it is on the team that's entering, they can find like 3 kills in a matter of moments. It is ridiculous, the potential that they have. And I think in best of 1 formats, you've got individuals that can really start to shine for Monte. That's where it gets dangerous to some of these teams that think they'll coast along through in the favorites. I'm just saying, I think Monte is a really good dark horse. They're my primary dark horse. And Aurora, yeah, I've got as my second.
I agree on Monte. They're not who I put down as my dark horse, but I do have them actually going through. So maybe that does count them as a dark horse to me, but they're a team that's super impressive. And there's kind of, when I look at the tier 2 space, there's kind of 2 teams that I kind of hold up as very equal and both very disrupting. And one is Monte, the other is Nine. Now, Brandon can attest, I had this down as my dark horse before 9 won yesterday against Fnatic.
You did.
I've been backing this team hard because they've been so good since adding Hades. They're on some ridiculous like win percentage in best of 3s in series. It was like 80 or 90% for like months. The last couple of months, they have dropped off a little bit, I will say. So some of the inconsistency is there, but I think they showed it yesterday in that match against Fnatic that they're a team not to be trifled with. I have them going through, and I think that they are the dark horse of this event. Maybe not so dark now that people have seen them in the spotlight, but I think no one's going to be doubting that they have the potential to go through in a very stacked group.
I think they're the best Vertigo team in tier 2.
Absolutely. They've got some ridiculous win percentage on it. And they showed it, right? Like just a fantastic team. You got Hades, who is performing really well. A lot of time you see tier 1 players who get kind of demoted to the tier 2 space kind of floundering and falling off, often getting demotivated. Not the case with Hades. He's joined this Polish project and has uplifted it to a huge ceiling. He's been performing consistently. But then you've also got Key, who is honestly one of the best riflers in that space, and pairing him with Kyla, It's this sort of double trouble. These two are insane, and I've just been really impressed by Nine.
So the reason I don't have 9 as my dark horse is because I've got them going through.
So we're the same with Monte and
Yeah.
9 on this then.
Yeah, I've also got Monte going through, but I was like, I need to kind of talk about them. So if we want to talk about a true dark horse, I guess I'll shift mine over to Aurora because I don't have them going through, but I feel like they genuinely do have a lot of upset potential.
Are we happy to agree with Aurora then? Because it seems like you've got two teams here that you both agree on going through. Have you got Monte going through as well, Lucy?
I do, yeah.
Okay, so should we say
Yeah.
Aurora for this? Is that happy?
Are you so? It depends because Lucy said that Aurora might go 0-3.
Well, I think it's a coin flip to me. They're either a dark horse or they go 0-3, which I guess is what makes a dark
Yeah.
horse a dark horse. So yeah, I kind of agree. Because I look at the other teams here and none of them have like dark horse written on them. Because we've already dunked on them as probably not going through. Like you can't really talk about Force or Astralis as dark horses, even though they probably have the same chances as Aurora going through. I think they're just too well established and we're seeing them playing in the tier 1 space. So like you can't really phrase them that way. So I think I have to agree with Aurora.
All right, I'll throw more spice on it. Why not? I think in the opening matchup, Aurora beat Spirit.
Ooh.
Okay, that's spicy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to feel about that.
That's it. That's the take. We don't need to address it. Let's just move on.
Okay, let's
You
move
think
on.
Big City iNation, and you think that
No, I think iNation beat Big. Yeah.
oh sorry, yeah, iNation beat Big, and you think Aurora beat Spirit.
Yeah.
I want to
Actually
see
gonna
the
tell me you
rest
think
of your
500
best
beats
of
Heroic.
ones. Yeah,
No, Heroic beat 500.
the rest of your best of ones must be wild.
So the C9 Fours one's actually really close, but I think C9 will edge it. I think I've got ENCE to beat Monte, but again, I think that's a close game. Vitality beat Astralis, NIP beat Eternal Fire, G2 beat 9.
Yeah, I agree on those.
Cool. I mean, I'm gonna doubt NIP every minute I get as a fan.
Yeah,
of
that's
them,
a twin goss.
But I think that really comes down to I think if config is gonna perform into that game. So
You never want to be relying on config performing.
No. Oh, that's a tough one. I don't even want to think about it. Let's move on. NIP make me sad. Okay. Who are the remaining 6 teams that you got to go through? You've already said you got Monte and oh my god, I've already forgotten. You made me think about NIP and my brain's gone. Yeah.
We probably have the same teams then, Brandon.
Maybe. What have you got?
I got Vitality.
Yeah.
Yay, French team. Cloud9, Heroic, obviously G2 and ENCE. So that's that group. So I think those 5 everyone should agree on going through. And then Monte 9, and I've got Spirit as my last.
Okay, I've got Monte 9, Spirit, Vitality, Heroic, NIP.
Plus G2.
I've got G2 going. I've got G2 going 3-0. Oh, ENCE. Yeah, no, ENCE over NIP. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so we had the same.
Yeah, got the same.
Nice.
We've actually agreed on it. Nice.
This is the tough group too.
Yeah.
It's because we both went for the same kind of like 9 Monte, which I think not everyone's going to agree on.
I wrote NIP in my notes to go through, and then realized that ENCE is a team. So yeah, NIP, unfortunately,
aren't a team.
No.
Yeah, I think Astralis maybe there's a conversation.
I feel like I nearly put Astralis as my dark horse.
They almost qualify. That's kind of how bad it's got for them that they almost qualify as dark horse.
Yeah, I think like I feel like me and you are taking the 9 Monte pill, which is why our picks will.
Yeah, we're deep in that hole.
I'm really deep in that Monte hole. So that's why I feel like you can easily throw in NIP. You can easily throw in Astralis.
Force.
Yeah, this team stacked. This group stacked. Yeah. It's crazy that we agree.
The 3-2-2-3 is going to be like so tight. I think we can.
I'm so excited to watch it. Honestly.
It's going to be really fun.
Okay, well, it's weird that we have an agreement, but I guess we'll move on to the highest rated player, and this might be an agreement as well after Brandon realized he was at the event.
Yeah, I'm already right on this one, just like I was right in the first one with It's Cywu. He's a monster. He's a Cywu. He's going to be the highest rated. He was the highest rated EPL. His team didn't even make the finals. They're going to go. They might not go 3-0. They might go 3-0. Regardless, he's going to be the top rated player. It doesn't matter. The only players that are going to contest are Shiro, Monacy, and maybe NertZ or Axile if they just have some like crazy pop-off games.
Yeah, I will go with Cywu as well.
I mean, you can't really not go with Cywu, can you?
Can't not go with Cywu.
I mean, he played some some of the fewest games at EPL, if you take into account that he missed the first 2 rounds in the playoffs, and then still comes out with one of the highest. Yeah, it's ridiculous the level that this guy is on at the minute. So definitely looking like he's going to be the best player of the year. I mean,
I think
maybe
so.
he will if we only count it to the halfway point of the year, if that's how it ends up being done with CS2 coming out. But who knows? The guy is unstoppable. So, I mean, this was quite an easy pick, it seems, for you guys compared to how we went through RMRA.
I'm really surprised because, like, I
Yeah,
think when
me
you look
too.
at the 2 RMRs, this is the one that's most up in the air. Obviously, we disagreed on some of the O3s, and I think that that's fair enough. But I'm very surprised that we landed on the same ground on the top end of the bracket.
Yeah, same. Yeah, because I know what I'm like. So, yeah,
I think it's
I'm
because we've both
impressed.
seen a lot of Nine and Monte, just we're within Challenger, within Elisa, within these various different spaces. Like, and these 2 teams have been farming, so you got to be excited for them if you've been watching them.
You do, and there's a lot of value in putting stock into these teams.
Yeah, they both look like they could be very, very good contentions for the qualification spots. So that's been our RMRB. Thank you for watching. You've got we have the links in the description for Brandon and Lucy. And yeah, leave a comment if you agree with Monte and 9 as 2 teams to go through, or you think NIP and Astralis will make that spot. Yeah, thanks for watching.